intense continuance then on everybody's part.
No change.
And then we've set it for a status in November. If something comes up, just contact my JA and we can put it on the docket anytime you want. All right?
Very good.
All right, guys. Thank you. No, I gave him that. Give us that.
Movement.
First part of November. Friday. Good for you guys. November 10th.
Very good.
State 10th. 10th. November 10th. That's fine.
Breaking news has just been released today, as reports state YNW Melly's attorney, Stewart, filed a motion to set bond with Judge Murphy on Tuesday afternoon, August the 15th. According to Broward County, YNW Melly, his counsel, and the prosecution will appear in front of Judge Murphy again for a status hearing on Friday, August the 18th. The YNW Melly retrial begins on Monday, October 9th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Then in the official court paperwork, it would go on and read, the defendant, Jamel, by and through his undersigned counsel, files this motion to set bond as grounds therefore states the following, that the defendant, Jamel, is charged in an indictment with 2 counts of first with a firearm that occurred on or about 26th day of October 28th. It continues, then on February 8th, 2019, the Miramar Police Department issued an arrest warrant authorizing the arrest of the defendant on the above-mentioned charges. Then 5 days later, on February 13th, 2019, the defendant voluntarily surrendered to the authorities at the Broward County Jail and has remained in custody since that time. Continuing, then the defendant commenced trial on this cause on April 11th, 2013, and this court declared a mistrial on July 22nd, 2023, because the jury could not reach a verdict. The defendant has remained in custody over 4 years and has never requested a bond hearing until now. Then ending with, the co-defendant has been charged with the same charges of first, as well as additional charges of 2 counts of accessory, and has been out of custody on a bond. And they are referring to YNW Bortland, trying to make the point of how YNW Bortland was allowed on house arrest for all of these years, meanwhile YNW Melly has been sitting in a jail cell. Now, a lawyer would end up revealing why YNW Bortland was on house arrest.
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
While many believe YNW Melly will be released on bond this week at his hearing, lawyers revealed the reasons why it will not happen, which starts with the 2 reasons of why the mistrial was even granted in July, as the first reason revolves around YNW Melly's angry lawyer. On the closing day of trial, right before deliberation, he was screaming over the fact that the jury had to make a decision on YNW Melly's life with such little evidence.
And tell him that he's going to live life in the state penitentiary without parole or being on row. This is the investigation they want you to rely upon and say it's proof beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt? I guess so, according to them.
As YNW Melly's lawyer would continue on yelling inside of the courtroom on the closing day, as his next argument revolves around the original court document, as the original document states that it was in fact a drive-by, yet the police never even looked at the surrounding stores that had surveillance cameras on the outside. That way they can see which license plates were driving in the area when the crime supposedly happened.
That he doesn't go to the on Miramar Parkway to check their surveillance tape. He doesn't go to Applebee's to check their surveillance tape. He doesn't go to Polo Tropical or the gas station or the bank on Miramar Parkway to check their surveillance tapes. When the car's on 184th Avenue, he doesn't go to the fire station to check their tapes, surveillance tapes. Doesn't go back to the two elementary schools, Sunset Lakes and West Broward Elementary, to check their surveillance tape, because he knows it all. He knows it. How do you know it if you don't check?
Which is a very fair point and is likely what led to the mistrial, as this proves very sloppy police work as well as just zero overall effort. However, the amazing testimony from YNW Melly's 6th grade best friend also helped him get the mistrial too, which he would reveal that Melly wasn't even at the crime scene.
Are you 100% sure that Melly got into the red Mitsubishi to go home?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that this young man learned of his friends at the exact same time you learned of it?
Yes.
And that was at the house?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that when people were getting on the phone, that this young man was looking for his phone to call people?
Yes.
As you see, YNW Melly was driving home with YNW Bortland on that night when the crime occurred. However, it wasn't revealed until Davis was on the stand. YNW Melly was picked up by the YNW members that were driving in the red vehicle at the recording studio halfway home. The members in the red car needed somebody with a set of house keys to allow them into the YNW crib.
Okay, so the only two people you know who had a key to the house was this young man
Yes.
and Cortland Henry.
Yes.
Did you see this young man unlock the door of the house?
Yes.
Who was the last person to get out of the red Mitsubishi to go inside the house?
Trayvon, he was in the cot still asleep.
Did you see where Melly went?
To his room.
And where was his bedroom?
When you first walked in the house, it can't miss it. It's right down the left.
Okay. This is a 1 or 2 story house?
2.
Adrian Davis claims that he saw YNW Melly exit the red vehicle, walk to the front door, open the door for everyone to go inside, and he walked straight to his bedroom to go to sleep. Then roughly 2 to 3 hours later, it would be revealed that members in the YNW house would begin screaming, yelling for everybody to wake up as they were just learning what happened to Sack Chaser and Juvie on the news.
Did there come a time in the early morning hours that you were woken up and heard some distressing news?
Yes.
What did you hear?
That second Julie.
When you heard that, did you see Melly in the house?
Yes.
Did you see Melly how he was dressed in the house?
Yes.
What was he wearing?
Shorts and a t-shirt, I think.
Okay.
As Davis says that he saw YNW Melly exit his bedroom, he was walking out of his bedroom wearing a t-shirt and shorts and learning about the quote drive-by. This now gives YNW Melly an alibi. However, was Davis telling the truth? The families of Sack Chaser and Juvie believe that he was lying, as one of the mothers would post this on Facebook, calling him a liar. However, the second reason for the mistrial was very important, and it was due to a report that came out this week stating, according to a juror who served in the YNW Melly trial, claims a majority of the jurors actually wanted to convict him. However, one woman that was on the jury was determined to find Melly not guilty, and then she convinced 2 others to say that he wasn't guilty too, saying, and I quote, "His mom is lying. It was a 9-3 guilty vote, not the other way around." As this is in response to YNW Melly's mother, Jamie King, who after the mistrial was granted, would go on her Snapchat story and posting a photo saying, 9 not guilty guilties, 3 guilty. It was a mistrial. My son will be home. God is still working. However, it gets a lot deeper than this, as a juror would go on to do a full-length anonymous interview with a news station, where the anonymous juror would speak on one juror that wanted to be a hero alongside YNW Melly's mother. The anonymous juror would reveal there was one juror that was causing issues, and she knew from the beginning she was not going to change her mind about YNW Melly being guilty at all, which technically made the Melly trial a massive waste of time.
Now, this is from Local 10 News right out of Fort Lauderdale, and they said most jurors wanted to convict Melly of 2 counts of the Broward County, the former juror has said. Now, this juror is speaking on the condition of anonymity, which means that they're not going to disclose their identity. The juror blamed the mistrial on one woman who served on the jury who appeared to be determined to acquit Jamel Demmons. The juror goes on to say that from day one, she had issues with the 4-person selected, at one point crossing her arms and saying that she was done. When another juror asked to not shut down and she set her feelings aside, she was manipulative, she was rude, she yelled insults at everyone, and she was just had a different opinion. The juror stated that she was there just to cause chaos.
The anonymous juror would state that there was one juror that wanted to be a hero, possibly wanting fame to be the one to save YNW Melly's life in this trial. The anonymous juror would reveal the original votes was actually 11-1 for YNW Melly being guilty, as YNW Melly would get extremely lucky with one juror that wanted to be a hero. Whether or not she was a secret fan, we don't really know. However, then this hero juror would do something very unexpected.
On the last day of deliberation, the former juror said that while it appeared that there was 11-1 to convict Demmons, the woman pulled 2 jurors aside and spoke to them for a few minutes and convinced them to come to her side. They stated, and I quote, "Then she came over and announced to the group that they had changed their minds, but when another juror asked why she was speaking for them, the former juror said, adding that the woman then hurled insults, including at the man who was questioning her. And without an agreement, Broward County Circuit Judge John J. Murphy declared the mistrial, and you guys remember that.
As the juror that wanted to be a hero would go around recruiting people, trying to tell them, hey, you gotta say this guy's not guilty. This is where it gets even more interesting, as the anonymous juror that did the interview would then go on to mention why they even spoke about the trial in an interview in the first place. This makes YNW Melly's mother look extremely unprofessional.
The former juror said that the decision to speak up about what happened behind the scenes resulted from reports from Demmons' mother, Jamie King, who said that they were deadlocked at 9-3 in favor of an acquittal, which again, we find out from this juror, is incorrect. The former juror said it was actually the opposite. She said that she had came out because she said, I don't want someone out there changing my vote. And she then goes on to say that you tell a lie enough, it becomes the truth. Now here's the best snippet. It says the next hearing for the case is on August 4th, and Demmons' team, as well as the prosecutors, agreed to start jury selection for the next trial on October 2nd. But again, we don't know if the judge is going to agree to a dual trial.
For those reasons, lawyers believe YNW Melly got extremely lucky. They believe in the second Melly trial that's coming up, there's a high chance that he will be sentenced to life in prison. Now this is due to the YNW Bortland interrogation video being leaked this week, where YNW Bortland can be heard saying this happened out of jealousy.
Let's talk about why. Are you having issues with anyone?
I mean, we are upcoming artists and stuff, so people like, you know, when you like start doing better than people, they start hating and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
So you had some jealousy issues.
Yeah, it's like jealousy issues. But goddamn, I haven't really been on there. But like he like my friend that's way now, God bless. He was telling me like, right, he always was telling me about how people, just like today, he was telling me some folks from up our way.
What's up your way?
Like Vero
Beach?
Beach, like that's where I used to stay. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up there. So that's our hometown. You know what I'm
So
saying?
what did your friend say about from Vero Beach? What was he saying to you?
He was saying basically just like They were on like Instagram, Facebook, like.
This possibility was never really revealed during the YNW Melly trial by Melly's lawyers, which definitely could have helped. However, it does relate to an interview that YNW Melly's manager 100K Track did during the YNW Melly trial, where he also answers the question of why he believes that it was a drive-by.
Who would want Melly and his friends? Did anybody ever him and the other guys before this happened? You know, Bortland said this was a drive-by.
When you in the limelight and you're making money and things like that, you're gonna receive hate. You're gonna receive, you're gonna receive things from everywhere, from people you know, people you don't know, people who probably feel obligated or feel, entitled to things, people who might not even know you from the campaign and just don't like you. So, as an entertainer, your life is always, your life has always been somebody or someone.
As around the time the crime occurred, YNW Melly's music career was just starting to take flight, as he was continuing to record at a local recording studio. It's still very possible someone could have known the location of Melly at the time of the crime, as at the exact same time of the crime occurring, YNW Melly was being recruited by 3 street teams, according to cell phone evidence shared within the trial. However, 100K Track gets into more detail about if it was a drive-by than who would have done it.
Bortland said this was a drive-by. Have you ever thought about who would have done something like this?
It would have been, it would have been so much people, what I'm saying? Like, not would have been, it could have been so much people, because, like, at the end of the day, this man was, like, had jewelry, had a large sum of money and things like that, and don't know where it could have came from, but I do know it came from somewhere, and, maybe one day we'll use our resources to find out who really did it and bring justice to the...
As the answer of knowing that YNW Melly had cash and jewelry on him at the time inside of the recording studio could definitely be a valid reason for somebody wanting to target him. Florida is known to be a very high crime area. Knowing a group of rappers are at a local recording studio with stacks of cash, including diamond jewelry, is a golden ticket for many street members. As later on in the Bortland interrogation, the officer would then ask, "If you know who did it, would you tell me?"
By just telling me the truth, even if it's something that I don't want to hear, but I respect the truth rather than BS, okay? And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay? You may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly.
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
Because I wouldn't want to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to be.
As YNW Bortland does not give a firm yes or no answer by using his voice. Instead, he shakes his head side to side. This is because if it was YNW Melly that did this crime, Bortland then would obviously know that. So trying to say no to the officer using his voice to save YNW Melly could have caused his voice to come out at a different volume than what he's been using throughout the interrogation. And that is due to him lying, which would then be an obvious indicator to the police that Bortland knows a lot more than what he's sharing. However, it also reveals Bortland is a lot smarter than most of us think. The police officer would then want more details of the in-the-moment actions during the drive-by, and how YNW Bortland presented it will most likely not help YNW Melly get any sort of bond.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about some shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there, there's gotta be some evidence there. There's gonna be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here when you guys open the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's gonna be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's gonna be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's gonna be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information